Yo, what is up, guys? It's your boy King Rich, and we're back with another Marvel's Avengers video. And in this video, I got the Iron Man build that I promised you guys. So I'm trying to keep the video as short as possible. There is a lot to go over with these Marvel builds, and I'm also gonna apologize for it taking a whole week. But it's really hard to find gear in this game. And after that video, I started grinding up Iron Man, and finally got him to 150. Finally was able to test out this build, and I think I am satisfied with what I got. This build is going to be based around the lasers. You're basically going to be able to spam your lasers, do lots of damage, do lots of stun. Now this isn't just a pure DPS build. It does have some survivability, but I want to say overall with Iron Man, that's where he's lacking. So this build is kind of lacking in sustainability and some survivability. By survivability or sustainability, I actually mean like he doesn't have a good way to heal himself when he gets low health. He kind of is lacking in that department, but I'm going to show you guys a little trick that's going to help you guys heal. It's pretty cheesy for Iron Man to be able to do this, so I will show you guys that trick in the gameplay. But without further ado, let's get into the build. So the way we're going to do this, so for the hero stats and the gear, I'm actually going to put the images up on screen so you can just look at them while I go over them, and like you don't have to look at them one by one as if it was in a video. I'll be going through everything one by one. I'll kind of explain everything as it's up on the screen. And then for the gear, you'll see red boxes and green boxes. The green boxes basically mean that this perk acts like absolutely necessary for the build, like it's working extremely well towards the build. Red means that this perk is not working towards the build at all. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing first is my hero stats. So these are the stats that I've gotten. Basically, you could look at this and get your build as close as possible to this, or kind of use this as a template, because we're going to be going over a lot in these builds, and I'm pretty sure y'all have seen these builds. They kind of get jumbled up. You kind of don't know what to really look for, so I'm trying to simplify that as much as possible. And if this helps you guys out, please let me know. All right, so for might, we're at 201. You will need a lot of might for this build. It's going to really revolve around melee damage. So we got 1500 melee damage, precision 0. We're not doing any range in this build. Throw range out the window. So we did go proficiency 167. And that's basically going to keep our crit chance up, keep it high. And it increases your perk chance, which is just an added benefit. We're not really caring about that. But yeah, crit chance is another big part of the build. We got some Valor on there just to keep that crit damage a little high. Keep those heroics at least doing some damage. And then resolve. So the way I see it for Iron Man, especially Iron Man, other characters don't have this problem, and I'll explain that when I build them. So for Iron Man, he has no way to really heal himself up. He can't do life steal like Thor. He doesn't have a L1 that instantly heals him like Kamala. So you're really trying to go for armor over health with Iron Man, because you will be healing with this build when you'll be doing a lot of takedowns, so you'll be healing off that. But if you have a lot of health, it's gonna be hard to heal that whole entire health bar up. Whereas if you have more armor, you'll be taking less damage, but you'll have a smaller health bar. So when you do one of those takedowns, you will be able to heal that health bar up easier, and you'll be taking less damage because of the armor. So with Iron Man, prioritize armor over health, in my opinion, if that makes any sense. And then the last stat is going to be intensity. We do want some intensity on there, just for that increased stun meter damage. You will be doing a lot of stuns with this build, and we'll get into it. So yeah, that's it for the hero stats. Let's go ahead and get into the gear. All right, so for the gear, before we get into this, I'm only going to go over the perks on each piece of gear. Y'all can look at the stats. So when I make a build, the first thing I look for is the stats, to make sure it has the stats that I'm looking for. And that's what you should also do when you're going for builds. The same thing goes for the ISOs. You'll just see the stats are basically what I go for first, and then from there I start looking for perks that I need. So y'all can just look at the screen and look at the stats on screen and use that as a reference. I don't have to go through every stat. You know, we already know what we're building. We just went through the whole stack page. You already know what stats to look for. So where you place them at specifically does not matter, as long as you have those specific stats. You get me? So we're just going to go over the gear perks, and I'm going to tell you how they benefit the build, or for the red ones, why you would want to replace those if they're not obvious. So for the gauntlets, we got faultless spark, 17% chance melee critical attacks grant a heroic charge burst for all heroic. So basically this build is centered around critting. and meleeing. So this just is perfect for your build. It's going to keep your heroics up, keep that support heroic up. The support heroic is really good for this build. You're really going to be needing to utilize it. And with this thing will constantly keep proccing. 17% is pretty high when you're constantly hitting crits over and over and over. So very important for the build. If you don't get the charge burst one, there's one that'll give you invulnerability, increased damage, increased defenses. So if you don't get specifically this one, you can go for one of those ones as long as it gives you a bonus, even if it's increased willpower, regeneration, whatever. As long as it gives you a bonus from when you're hitting with crits, that's really what you're looking for with this. Now, shock injector, light combo finishers trigger a burst of shock damage. It's okay. It's okay. It just adds extra damage to them. It's okay, but you're not really using your light combo finishers. You're actually using heavy finishers with this build, so it can be replaced for something that would complement the heavy finishers or being more tanky, uh, being able to regenerate health. Anything along those lines is what you're looking for on all these red ones, basically. And if it's not circled at all, like overcharge modifier, that means it's okay for the build. It doesn't make a huge difference. Not really worth talking about. So yeah, let's get into the repulsors. So for the repulsors, we got Adept Spark, 43% chance hitting an enemy with a range critical attack grants a heroic charge burst. Now this is really good. You can proc this with this build because you have so much crit that you can proc this pretty easily, but you're not really trying to be at range with people with this build. You're trying to be kind of up close to them and you know, doing melee damage. You're not really trying to be at range. So I would say Adept Spark, really replace it for anything else that will complement you fighting in close quarters melee. Alright, so for the second perk, this is absolutely critical for the build. Not necessarily gamma damage. I do feel like it's probably third best, but I feel like the best build damage you can get for this build is cryo. I've tried pin particles, and the problem with the pin particles was it shrinks the enemies too small to where you're actually doing less damage because you can't hit them with all your lasers. So make sure it has laser attacks deal blank damage. You want to look for cryo and shock. Cryo or shock will do a lot better than gamma or pim. So try to look for those ones. And this is absolutely critical, guys. If you do not have this on your repulsors, it might not be even worth building this. So try to look for the repulsors with the laser attack damage blank. So basically, the third perk, we got expert protection, chance of defeating enemies in their weak point grants a defense buff. It's 98% chance, extremely high, guys, like pretty much 100%. The problem is you're not really defeating enemies that often in their weak spot for you to take advantage of this. If you could find anything else that would complement the build to put here, that would be 100 times better than having this there. Alright, so for the plating, you have nimble buff. Basically, dodging, doing a perfect dodge will give you a short damage buff, has 24% chance. This is really effective with this build. The only problem is you have a lot of damage already. It would be better if dodging had a chance to give you invulnerability or a defense buff or willpower burst, something like that would have been better than this, but this isn't bad. So the second one is shock resistance. Of course, any kind of defense you can get with this build is good. So the last perk, which is the critical one, damage taken is reduced 86% of normal when critically injured. So whenever you're below 25% health, all damage you take is reduced by 86%. This just makes you really tanky at that point. And it's not hard to get there with this build. You probably one bullet will take you to below 25% health, just because we don't have that much health. But with this perk, it'll save you from a lot of things that would have killed you. So very, very, very good perk. But if you find something else that makes you more tanky for this particular spot, even better. For our accelerator, the first perk kind of sucks. Arc field defensive barrier now electrocutes nearby enemies. It's good if I was actually using arc field, but we're really not, so it's just useless. We don't use it. But the second perk, absolutely important. Grants 10 points of intrinsic energy when performing takedowns. With this build, you will be doing takedowns all the time, so you will be proccing this constantly, and it'll be keeping your intrinsic energy up, which is going to allow you to keep spamming your lasers more and more. It's going to allow you to get into that overcharge state easier. This is absolutely important. You guys make sure you find this one. So that does it for the gear pieces. Let's get into the artifacts. So for the 2 minor artifacts, the first one, the gleaming shard, 8% increase, blah blah, trash. Get that replaced with literally anything that would help your anything besides that. The second one, heavyweight boon, increased critical hit chance for a heavy combo finisher. So basically just 5% critical hit chance with this build. You're going to be using your heavies constantly. You'll be using your finishers all the time. So really good, just 5% extra crit chance. And for the final minor artifact, 5% reduction from cryo damage. So just extra damage reduction. Why not? And you have heavyweight breaker, 11% increased damage from power attacks. So the photon samurai string, I believe it's a power attack. So this is basically constantly giving you 11% increased damage just from you using your triangle. The one where he spins around, that one's a power attack, I believe. So very, very good, guys. And then also you see the stats. This is the one I want to talk about. It has 3 proficiency stats that boosts my crit chance up a lot. So make sure you guys look for something similar to this. And the major artifact, last but not least, for the gear is gonna be Tactagon. So basically you run Tactagon because of 1, you're getting might and valor from it, and then 2, any enemy affected by a status, you do 12% more damage to them. So with this build, you're constantly going to be applying statuses. Like, you'll see how fast it applies. It's just extra 12% damage for free. Exploit is just good overall, 12% increased status damage from all attacks. Just a good overall thing to have on your build. This is at least for this build, this is the best artifact in my opinion for this build. I did try the heroic ability build where you can just keep spamming your abilities. It really wasn't consistent for me because when I do these builds, I make sure I'm level 150 and I go into the hardest content. And in that content, there is a lot of spin enemies that they just take away your abilities. So it's like, if you're not really doing damage to them, then they're just gonna keep taking your abilities. You don't really get to have your abilities up all the time. And when they're not up, you're kind of just like a fucking squishy person that does no damage. So for me, in the hardest difficulties, at least brutal, which was I did the plus 15 elite stuff to test all this. It really wasn't good enough for me. It didn't do it for me. So I mean, this is the best artifact in my opinion for this particular build. And I'm noticing a lot of builds are less so centered around using your abilities and more about like melee damage because it's just more consistent. So yeah, guys, that's it for the gear. Let's get into the skills. We are level 50. All my builds are going to be on level 50. Try to be either 140 or 150. So you will have all these skills. I don't have to go over any of this. The main strings you're going to want to be doing for this build are basically all of these, except that one. Basically all of these, like the triangle, the whole triangle, all these strings you're just going to be utilizing. Anything that uses your lasers. This one right here does insane damage. Like it's crazy how much damage that one does. And then yeah, pretty much anything will be useful as long as you're just spamming your lasers. All right, so for specialty skills, this is EMP. It's basically just gonna get you out of a lot of trouble. It's gonna let you do a couple takedowns, and we are running the takedown thing that gives you extra health, so it would just work with that. This just makes it longer. EMP amplifier. You can just look at this right now and just, you know, screen cap this and go ahead and copy it if you don't want to really go over all this. For the assault heroic, I run this one because it does a shitload of damage. You don't have to. You can pick whichever one you want, whichever one helps you the best. And then this one's going to drop those orbs for you, allow you to do more damage and keep your abilities up. For your ultimate, you could really just choose whatever you want for the ultimate. There's really no specialty, but I am going to show you the trick with the ultimate for Iron Man to heal and to get yourself out of a lot of combat situations. All right, so for the final skill page, this is the one that really matters the most. Increased all stun damage dealt to enemies by 15%. Super duper important, guys. Make sure you guys put that on. You're gonna need this to sustain yourself as Iron Man. Performing a takedown spawns a regen pack. Trust me, do not use the other two. Use this one for Iron Man or you're gonna be dying a lot. Make sure you guys use this one. This just gives you a reduction to your intrinsic bar. Very, very needed. So for range, you just want to go straight across with the lasers. Everything here is going to help this build. You can read through it. It's just straight across with the lasers. You're not using any other weapon. So for intrinsic, we're running increased intrinsic amount by 15%. All right, so for this one, stun intrinsic boost, basically Anytime you stun an enemy, you'll be getting 25 points of intrinsics. And although you're spamming your intrinsics, you're using your lasers a lot, this is gonna proc very, very often, and it's gonna be allowing you to get into that overcharge state even though you're using your intrinsics all the time. Very important, guys. Make sure you guys have that on. Increase damage for all attacks while overcharged. Like I said, you're gonna be overcharged a lot. You'll be getting your abilities back. I don't want to say a lot, but I mean they will be there. So make sure you guys have that one on. Your abilities will not always be down. You know, you'll have access to them hopefully when you need them. Don't just spam them when they pop up. This is not an ability build. Your abilities are more there to get you out of bad situations or to like finish an enemy off or something like that. You know, I usually use my abilities to just get me out of situations. This just adds shock damage to energy pulse. Good. This just does your energy barrier useless, kind of. And then this just increases your flight. So whatever in these two columns you want, just put whatever. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the build. Like I said, this build is centered around being as tanky as possible while putting out a lot of damage. And the content we're doing is going to be level 165. That's the highest level. This is an elite vault and I'm solo. We're going to go into some gameplay and a couple of tips and tricks. I know a lot of people don't care about that part, but it's kind of important. But if you're tuning out right now, just please drop a like, guys. Even if you haven't liked it yet and you're staying for the rest, please drop a like, guys. It helps me out a lot. It takes me a long time to make these, like, come up with all this stuff. It's a grind in this game, and it's really hard, guys. And I don't get paid for this. You know, I still have a job. It's difficult. So the only way you guys can really help me out, I don't ask for donations. Just drop a like on the video. And if you're not subbed to the channel, just subscribe. You know, that helps me out a lot, guys. And I really appreciate every single like, every subscription, comment. I appreciate everything, guys. So yeah, let's get into the gameplay aspect of it. All right, so here we are at the Elite Hive. Let's get to the entry, kill some enemies. It's gonna be quick. I don't want y'all to be watching this shit forever, so let's just go. And I'm gonna show you the Hulk Buster trick to fucking heal yourself. Anybody else hate the fucking flying enemies? Like, bruh, stupid annoying. Like, they're just there too. Like, they don't really do shit. They're just there. So first things first, you want to destroy the fucking turrets. Got all of them? Alright. Oh, no, it's not. Like, y'all seen that crit for 10,000 right there? Oops, I should have executed him. So whenever you get around a bunch of enemies like that, I would assume using your ult, or your L1, I mean, sorry. I want to go over there and hit that dude with the execution. So like this thing, I mean, it's just, you can kill like multiple people at once. I fucking hate people blocking. And like this, like, all right, look, so we're low health, right? So you spawn Hulkbuster, boom. He's gonna heal you up to full health. And then as soon as you get in Hulkbuster, just press, well, you can press it whenever, but I press it as soon as I get in. Press L1. It's gonna cancel your Hulkbuster, but look at my Hulkbuster charge. If I pick up one orb, wait a couple seconds, get a charge in, it will refill my Hulkbuster to max. So cool little trick I learned trying to survive with Iron Man. Oh shit, camera. Is he dead? How is he not dead? Fucking die. Alright, he's dead. So yeah, that was a cool little trick. And then like you can use your heroics. They do decent damage, but that's not the setup at all. Oh, I thought I was gonna do the other one. But yeah, this shit's like they're way higher level. I'm by myself playing solo and just, I mean, it's a cake. Like this shit's cake as fuck. So. $14,000 for the takedowns. Like, alright, here goes some adaptoids. So yeah, guys, just all around a good build. Let's take on these adaptoids. Should have did that already. Like, look at that damage on the Adaptoid. Pretty bad, like. So yeah, guys, pretty good build. Like, those Adaptoids are really tanky. Like, it's not the craziest, oh my god, 6 million damage, but like overall this build is very solid. Like, pretty much what you're looking for. All around just good, tanky. You can make it better, of course. It's not perfect by any stretch, so I would challenge you guys to find better perks. I mean, it took me a week to find what I got here, so not very easy to find things better. And yeah, guys, that pretty much does it for the video. I mean, if you like what you've seen here, there's gonna be more video builds next. But there will be more builds coming up. I don't know who I'm gonna do next. Maybe Thor. I'm kind of having trouble with his build, but maybe Thor. Maybe the Widow. Maybe I don't know. I haven't decided. I don't really see many Kamala builds, so maybe I'll go Kamala. I haven't decided. So yeah, guys, if you guys liked the video, please drop a like. Please subscribe. It'll help me out a lot, guys. And that's all I ask from you guys. Appreciate it, guys. Peace out.